Did you know that gold comes in amazing, weird, and strange crystal forms? Crystal gold? Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. Most people know that like quartz and garnet, tourmaline and beryl and other minerals form crystals. Yeah, no problem. Most people know that. But did you ever think about gold forming crystals? Well, the truth is gold forms out of hot water solutions, just like the quartz and the garnet and tourmaline and other stuff like that form beautiful crystals. Fluorite is another one. It forms this in the same kinds of, well, not exactly the same kinds of environment, but the same environment in the sense that it's crystallizing out of hot water. And so it's true, crystals of gold grow out of hot water. Now, most folks are used to seeing rounded, kind of blobby looking nuggets because they've rolled around in a river or stream. And even if they might have once been, coarse and angular and crystalline, after being beat up and rolled around and tumbled in a stream, they're rounded and smooth and kind of look like this.
It's a big nugget, but it's spent some time rolling around in a stream, and it's been smoothed, and its edges and corners rounded. It's got a little character left over from its original form, but it's been well rounded by rolling around in a stream.
But like I say, nearly all gold originally grows out of hot water solutions. These are basic same solutions that deposit quartz veins and quartz crystals in quartz veins, deposit gold in these veins, and so that grows out of these hot water solutions. And a lot of original gold was originally a crystal shape, but it's been beat up and pounded and rolled, like I say. Now, let's take a look. There's different names for different types and shapes of crystalline gold. They are all very rare and they're all very valuable. But there's these different types. So let's take a look at some of the different name types and talk about them just so we can get a frame of reference of what typical gold crystals look like.
First up is the octagon. This is the crystal basic shape of gold and best seen at the top of the specimen. An octagon is basically like two pyramids, one right side up and one upside down. And then attached to each other. It's the diamond shape. And in fact, gold does crystallize in the same shape as a diamond, as shown here. A good example of the octagon is the lower left crystal. Next up is leaf gold. And this actually is basically a thin sheet of crystal gold that's about 14 or 16 inches tall. It's a fantastic specimen, but leaf gold is actually one of the most sought after examples of crystalline gold. Here's another example of leaf gold, this with some of the quartz still attached. This is from the Mother Lode country in California in the Jamestown area. Now, it seems like, looking at this, that the gold leaf will grow in the cracks in the quartz, and that's why it's so thin. Here is an example of wire gold. Gold, just naturally because of twinning in the crystal, will grow into these wire shapes. And sometimes the wires are close and closed like this, and other times the wires are more open. It just depends on how the wires grow. Here's an example of what's called chevron gold, because basically the V of the chevron is shown in the crystal, and you can see that kind of on the far right and on the upper left. But this repeated V pattern where it's just V, 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 is sometimes called herringbone. This is done because of twinning in the crystal. Basically, crystals can spawn other crystals of a little bit different orientation. And it's the process geologists call that twinning. And gold is very subject to twinning when it grows crystals. And this chevron gold is part of the result. Here's another example of twinning in gold, and you can see the repeated pattern, the lines that repeat, and it's basically by the crystal spawning other crystals that are twins of it, but slightly different orientation. And this is actually a single crystal of gold. It's such a weird shape and such a weird form, it's hard to imagine that this is all one interconnected crystal of gold, but it is. A lot of gold crystal specimens just don't fit neatly into one type or another. They may have aspects that are leaf gold. They may have crystals of octahedral gold growing out of a leafy area. It just is sometimes a lot of them are a mix of different things, but there's these basic aspects that you can use to define what a gold specimen looks like. Now you might ask, why are some examples of gold crystals and others not? Well, actually, all gold is crystalline in one form or another. Even the rounded, blobby, jelly bean type nuggets that have been rolled around in a stream, if you cut them open and etch the surface of the gold on the inside, you get something that looks like this. And you can see all the darker colored blobs are quartz or other mineral, but all the shiny metallic looking pieces, that's all gold. Even though it's an interlocking series of crystals, it's still crystalline gold.
So we've looked at some of these different types, and not all specimens fit neatly and cleanly into one type. They may have some part of one. You may have like a leaf thin sheet of gold with some triangular or octahedral crystals growing out of it, or some wires growing out of it. So the gold doesn't always just conform to one type and stay at that one type. Sometimes you get mixed types and weird twinning and stuff like that. So you get all different kinds of stuff. Let's take a look at some of the general different types, some different examples, and some super valuable, some really amazing samples of these rare crystals of gold.
So this is what more people think of when they think of gold nuggets. It's a rounded blob. Of course, this is a gigantic example, but this is at least the shape and type that people think of when they think of gold nuggets. This, on the other hand, is what we're talking about when we're talking about crystalline gold. You can see all the angles of all the crystals that are kind of stuck and welded together in this specimen. It's just a beautiful piece of crystalline material that's metallic gold, just like any nugget, but it's not been rounded or worn. It's as it came out of the ground with its beautiful crystalline shape. And this type of thing is worth far more than the weight of gold to collectors. Now, crystalline gold comes in a huge variety of configurations and shapes and different formations. And I've got a whole bunch of pictures, and I thought you might enjoy looking at them with me and talking about them, because it's just pretty stuff to look at. This is a large museum quality specimen that was taken from the Eagle's Nest mine in California. It's part of the Sierra Nevada gold country, and it's a large piece that is very high quality and would sell for tens of thousands of dollars. And I can tell you that the price of this gold is really expensive. This piece is from Butte County, which is also in California, up at the northern end of the Sierra Nevada. And it shows some beautiful crystalline shape. It's a lot smaller than the one we looked at last. But like I say, these specimens sell for a lot higher price than just the value of the gold bullion within them. And they are so valuable because they are rare. Millions of tons of ore get mined, and millions of ounces of gold are produced every year from mines around the planet. But very little of it is beautiful crystalline gold. So they are rare and extremely beautiful. That's why these specimens are so highly prized by collectors and sell for amounts, like I say, far exceeding the amount of gold they contain. Generally speaking, they are given a higher value if some of the original quartz vein or other matrix is still attached, as in this specimen. Here is a handful of crystalline gold nuggets from northern Nevada. These were taken by metal detector in the Rye Patch area north of Lovelock, between Lovelock and Winnemucca. And you can see that they're just beautifully crystalline and don't show any sign of rounding or wear like normal nuggets do. This beautiful piece of crystalline gold, although very different from the others I've shown you, came from Arizona and was found with a metal detector. This beautiful piece of crystalline gold is actually called the Golden Bear. If you kind of look at it, it sort of looks like a bear standing up on its hind legs, sort of. It's the image of the rock hounding Federation of Clubs in California. And it's a beautiful piece on its own. If you look real close, you can see some triangle-shaped crystals on there. And I want to draw those to your attention. Now this is a beautiful piece of leaf gold, just a thin sheet from Nevada, but you can see on it the same sort of triangular crystal growth patterns that I was pointing out on the last specimen. Now this is a drawing of some natural gold crystals, and if you look, you can see the triangle shapes all over the place. Basically, you can see in the one that I circled with red that it's what's called an octahedron, which is basically like two pyramids, one upside down and one right side up, put together at the base so that they have that diamond shape. And in fact, this is the same crystal pattern that diamonds crystallize in. A lot of minerals actually crystallize into this shape, and gold is one of them. But you can see by looking at all the different drawings of the gold crystals shown in this illustration that they all have a repetition of the same theme of those triangle-shaped growth patterns. You can see in this specimen of crystalline gold those triangular shaped patterns, growth crystals, shown very well. And in fact, you can even see, if you look closely, the octahedron, basically the diamond shape that's displayed in this. It's a very high quality crystalline specimen that shows very well how the gold, when it grows as a crystal, it will form into those shapes. But it's not always possible to see these triangular growth patterns in a crystalline gold specimen. The fact is that gold just grows in a myriad of shapes, and together with twinning and deformed crystals and everything else, you can get just an amazing variety when you come to look at crystalline gold. In some crystal gold specimens, the gold will take the form of leaves that may be interconnected, but they're just thin sheets that are just naturally formed that way. Another beautiful form of crystalline gold is that of wires. You can see the wires intertwined and growing together in different directions. There's a whole slew of different forms that just are from wires of natural gold. This beautiful mass of wires is actually the only one of all these specimens that belongs to me. I found this out in the hills of Nevada with my metal detector. It was down fairly deep, but the specimen weighs 20 grams, so it weighs about 2/3 of an ounce. And at today's prices, it's more than $1,000 worth of gold just in bullion value. But it would be a lot more valuable because of the wire specimen that it is. And so I'm pretty proud of this thing. It's one of my favorite finds of all time. One of the most famous sources of wire gold in the world is at Breckenridge in Colorado, where some beautiful specimens like this were found back in the early days with the old pioneers and old miners in Colorado. Perhaps one of the most valuable forms of crystalline gold is this very specialized wire form, where instead of growing as single wires, you get basically a bundle of wires growing together, and they often twist like this, which gives the name to this form of crystalline gold, which is called ram's horn. A lot of ram's horn specimens came from the old Gilman mining district in Colorado. Here's another specimen of this ram's horn type of gold, these bundles of wire that grow together. This is actually a much more common crystal pattern for the growth of natural silver. Natural metallic silver often comes in this form. But for gold, it's very rare, and these are incredibly high priced. Often they will sell for prices in the range of 30 to 50 times and maybe even more the value of the bullion in the gold. They're just really highly prized and considered very beautiful. About 30 miles east of Reno, there's an old gold mining district called Olinghouse. And in recent decades, there have been some underground mining there that produced some really nice specimens. This is one of them. Now the gold, it's hard to see here, but I'll tell you, it's just little tiny flakes and wires and little flat pieces that are kind of grown together into a mossy kind of a formation. Now, this stuff is soft enough that literally I could take my hand and just kind of wipe the gold off the surface. It's very, very, very fragile, and yet they sell for huge amounts of money. This picture was taken at the Tucson Gem Show some years ago, when gold was probably around $1,200 an ounce. And you can see, if you look closely, the price of this specimen, it's about the size of a football, is $12,000, or roughly speaking, about 10 times the bullion value that's in the gold. It's an amazing thing, but the gold is very beautiful, and collectors are willing to pay for really nice pieces of crystalline gold. Here's another specimen of that mossy kind of gold from Olinghouse in Nevada, east of Reno. You can see that it's really pretty, and it does, when you're looking at it in person, sparkle and glisten. It just looks really nice, but boy, these specimens are extremely expensive. Here's another specimen from the Olinghouse district in Nevada, and it has this beautiful mossy sparkly gold on it, and it's very pretty, but you can see if you look closely here, the asking price for this is $45,000. That's a very pricey specimen for something that I would guess probably doesn't have more than, maybe a little more than about an ounce of gold in it. It's just amazing what the market is for really fine crystalline gold specimens. This is a gold nugget from California that's been tossed around in a river a little bit, but not enough that it's erased the crystal shape that the thing originally had. You can kind of see the triangular growth patterns of the crystal, the diamond shapes in there if you use your imagination, but it's really deformed and unusual, and it's kind of my point. Gold comes in just a huge variety of crystalline forms. Here's a crystalline nugget from the Rye Patch area in northern Nevada, and it's really weirdly shaped, almost like a small bouquet of flowers, but if you look near the top of the nugget, you can kind of see a part of one of those triangular growth patterns that are part of how the gold grows. It's just that it's deformed and changed and altered so much you can only see a little bit of that. This is a piece from a pocket that was found by a friend of mine. He was digging in some quartz veins in some old mining areas in California, and he started finding some gold and kind of traced it up and hit a little pocket with several ounces of gold, and the gold was just beautifully crystalline, and this is one of the specimens of it. Here's another beautiful crystalline specimen from that same pocket with a little bit of quartz attached to it. Now, my recollection is it was about 3 to 4 ounces of gold, and this was back in the days when gold was still, $800, $900 an ounce. And he sold this he sold it wholesale to a dealer for $10,000 for the whole collection. And the dealer, of course, then turned around and sold these specimens for even more for his profit. It just shows how valuable that crystalline gold can really be. Here is another beautiful and unique specimen of crystalline gold, but I could go on showing you pictures like this for hours, and I've saved the best for last, so let's get to it. So here's my last piece, and if I'm trying to convince you how unusual and beautiful and weird crystalline gold can really be, this is a great place to finish up. This specimen was purchased by a friend of mine. It actually was a piece of gold-rich ore, and what my friend does is he literally takes rock like this and removes and etches and takes away bits of the ore to create the specimen that's inside. And basically there was rock over the top of this gold, and he removed the rock in such a way as to leave the specimen intact and leave the specimen beautiful while removing all the stuff that wasn't a beautiful specimen. It's kind of like what Michelangelo used to say about doing a sculpture. He would remove all of the pieces of rock that weren't part of his sculpture, and that's kind of what my friend does. He removes the rock that isn't the part of the beautiful gold specimen. Now, this specimen will sell for huge amounts. I can't hardly tell you what the amount of gold that's in it is, but it's substantial but not huge. And my guess is that when it finally sells, this will sell for something between 50 to 100 times the actual metallic gold value. That's pretty impressive. And that just goes to show you the real value of crystalline gold. So if you get into some crystalline gold, boy, don't melt it down and don't send it off to a refiner. Be sure to get the full value of it, because the value is huge.
Now, we've taken a big look at crystalline gold today and gone through, and one of the things I want to tell you is the vast majority of these crystal golds are found by metal detector operators. Whether it's above the surface on the ground, like some of the stuff I've found, because I've found some really neat crystal gold specimens, or some of the stuff that is found inside mines and that kind of stuff. But in any case, it's found with metal detectors, and so even if they're inside a mine, they can carefully remove the piece without smashing up the gold crystals. And so metal detectors make a big difference. And metal detectors are a popular tool for prospectors that give you an advantage that the old timers never had. You know, the old timers, they had sluices and pans, and they even had streams of water washing down sides of hills into their sluice boxes, but they never had anything that looked like a metal detector. It just wouldn't have even imagined such a thing could exist. And you know, I use metal detectors, and I have a number of videos about metal detecting. And whether you're out sluicing or metal detecting or panning, whatever you're doing in your prospecting, what you know about gold and gold geology and gold deposits, you know, that kind of stuff makes all the difference in the world as to how successful you're probably going to be. Because if you don't know anything, just go out there randomly hoping to trip over a nugget, you know, your odds are low. But if you have more knowledge, you'll be better off. And in order to impart to you some of the 40 years of experience plus my mining and engineering degree, I wrote a book called Fistful of Gold, and it has, you know, gobs of experience that you can take advantage of. I also have partnered with an outfit called High Plains Prospecting, and they're a full line prospecting equipment shop, and it's mail order, and they have everything from low end to super high end metal detectors, pans, sluices, drywall, you name it. As far as prospecting, they have it in stock. And so if you're interested in the metal detecting thing, you might take a look, because you can get a discount at High Plains using my discount code. Anyway, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about my book and about High Plains right now. This is my book, Fistful of Gold. It's an encyclopedia of everything you need to know to go out and find gold for yourself. It distills down my 45 years of experience out in the field prospecting, as well as my degree in mine engineering. It's, like I say, an encyclopedia. There's a lot to it. It's over 250,000 words long, hundreds of pages with hundreds of illustrations, teaching you what you need to know about geology, about mining districts, about techniques of finding gold. It covers metal detectors, sluicing, panning, dry washing, high bankers, you name it, it's covered in there. It talks some about platinum and diamonds, but it's mostly about gold, because gold is more widespread. It is not so much a book about where to find gold, but a book about how to find gold. Because even if you have a location where gold was mined in the past and you go out there, well, where should you look to be successful in your prospecting, to find the gold that's there? This is the book that's going to tell you that information. I spent most of 10 years writing this book, so I thought a long time about it. It's got, like I say, lots of information and lots of illustrations, and I've had results from people who bought it. It's available on Amazon, but I recommend buying it through High Plains Prospectors, and I'll put a link in the description for buying this book through them. They have a better price than Amazon, and I have a special deal that I'll tell you a little bit more about, where you can get a 5% discount from the price even with that. On Amazon, the book rates a 4.7 out of 5, which means that of all the people that have bought it, they've been really highly satisfied, and I think you, if you buy my book, will be just as highly satisfied as well. Now let's talk a little bit more about High Plains Prospectors. They're a prospecting shop, a mail order prospecting shop that I've partnered with. The deal is that I can get you a 5% discount, a coupon code, and I'm going to put the code to that right here. It's just Chris Ralph, all caps with no space between Chris and Ralph. You put that in there as a discount code and you'll get 5% off their already really good prices. I think it's a great deal where you win by getting a discount, I get a little percentage of that, and they get new business. So if you need prospecting supplies, High Plains is really the way to go. And I'll put information, like I say, in the description more about how you can work with them, because I'm working with them. They really are great guys, a great company. For even more information, I also have a website, and I'm going to show you my webpage and talk a little bit more about that right now.
This is my webpage. It's located at nevadaoutbackgems.com. You can Google it, or I have a link down in the description below. But there's lots of information here, miscellaneous stuff, pictures, some historic information as well, stories. It's got a lot of great fun stuff. You'll probably be interested in it.
Now, on all of my YouTube videos, I encourage you guys to ask questions. If you have thoughts, comments, suggestions for things that I ought to look at in my videos, things that you want to find out more about, and I answer 100% of my questions. There's not very many YouTubers out there that answer 100% of their questions. I'm one of the few. And so I will do my best to answer what you have. I mean, I only can write so much. Sometimes the answer is something where I'm going to recommend that you buy the book and read about it. I also ask that you subscribe to my channel, click the bell notification so that every time I come out with a new video, you'll be able to watch it. And like I say, I cover a huge amount of topics. I also have 250 videos that I've already done. And so you can go back through my catalog of videos on YouTube. I'm sure there'll be many videos there that you'll want to take a look at, especially if you have any interest in gold or platinum, diamonds, gemstones, geology, and that sort of stuff. My YouTube site is going to be right up your alley. So I'll see you again real soon. We'll be out in the field and back in the office at the whiteboard, and whether we're looking at gold or platinum, diamonds, gemstones, or other interesting geology, it's going to be fun. You're going to enjoy it, and we'll see you again real soon.